Hello everyone, it's Robin the Delta Crafter and I want to thank you for joining me for another video on my YouTube channel. Today I'm going to show you how to create 3 different looks using 2 brand new die sets from Spellbinders. Let's take a look at those die sets. First up we have the Four Petal Bloom Reflection set. This is a kind of a half moon bouquet kind of die set, and it comes with all the little pieces to help you create dimensional flowers for that bouquet. And then next up is the Four Petals label set. You can see that there's lots of label dies in this set, and I'm going to show you how to take the largest die and create a shaped card with that. I love that there are so many different sizes that can be used in so many different ways. So let's go ahead and get started. So I've created a card base out of accent opaque 120-pound weight cardstock, and this is going to be A2 size with top folding. So what I'm doing now is I'm lining up the top folded edge of the card, and I'm lining it up with the top edge of my die. I want to make sure that the cutting edge of the die is hanging off of the cardstock. That's going to give me my shaped card, but also leave my card hinged together so that you get what I had just showed you there, a shaped card. Off camera, I went ahead and die cut a bunch of different pieces. I wasn't quite sure where I was going to go and what I was going to do with all of these die cuts and when I got to making the cards. But so I wanted to make sure I had plenty of pieces die cut in various different shades that I was going to use to make these cards. So for the very first card, I'm going to take some of those, like the half moon bouquet pieces, and I'm going to glue them together. This is the base piece, so I'm going to glue a couple of them together. The reason why I'm doing that is because for this very first card, it's going to be completely monochromatic. It's going to be all white. So I'm going to get depth and dimension on an all white monochromatic card through layering up these pieces. So that's going to give us a beautiful effect with just one colored cardstock. So now that I've gotten kind of 2 of those half moon shapes glued together, and I'm going to, because I'm going to be sandwiching them to kind of make a whole oval kind of shape, I'm ready to start assembling all of the die cut pieces that go on top. So what I'm showing you here is how all of the pieces that should align together and come together to create your layered die cut. So this very first piece that I'm creating is the one that goes at the top center of our half moon floral bouquet. And so there are 4 different pieces to this assembly. So I've glued 2 pieces together using the Barely Arts glue with the fine tip nozzle. I love that Barely Arts glue. You guys know that that's one of my favorite adhesives to use. And so I'm just going to dot some of that Barely Arts glue onto my die cuts and start to assemble them and put them together. Again, there's 4 pieces to this particular die cut, and I'm going to use my embellishment wand to put on this 4th and final piece. Having an embellishment wand was very, very critical to assembling all of these smaller die cuts, especially when we start getting into some of the other pieces to the bouquet. I'm going to place my acrylic block on top of that die, the layered die, so I make sure that everything adheres together nicely. And then I'm going to move on to assembling some of the other die cuts. So I've sped this up a little bit because I didn't want to kind of bore you with all of the assembly, but I did want to make sure that you could see which part pieces go together. I'll show you a little bit more later on in this video when I'm using some colored cardstock so that you can see the smaller piece assembly a little bit better. You can also check out the Spellbinders website. They have some reference photos that you can use to figure out how to assemble all of these die cuts. So now I'm working on kind of what is a ginkgo shaped, at least that's what it looks like to me, ginkgo shaped kind of flower or leaf. And now that I've gotten all of those together, I put everything under the acrylic block and let them sit there for a few minutes while everything adheres together. So now that all of those die cuts are together, I'm going to go ahead and adhere everything to our half moon bouquet. This is our base piece that we're going to be working with. So now I'm going to dot some of that Barely Arts glue again along some of those areas on the base piece. And I'm going to lay our layered die cut pieces on top of that. And now we're going to start getting to the part where you can start to really see the dimension come alive and how much depth that's going to give this creation. Along with those larger flowers that are on in the bouquet, we have some smaller flowers as well. So you can see those in my little tray there on the very end. So I'm going to use my embellishment wand again and pick up some of those flowers and place them onto the our base piece here, our half moon bouquet. So instead of using all the little center flower die cuts that are part of the set, I'm going to fill in those flowers with some gold pearls from Studio Katia. Again, I'm going to use that Barely Arts glue because it will hold these gold pearls on nice and securely. And I'm just going to dot some of that in the middle of the flowers and pick out some gold pearls that fit appropriately with each size of flower. Again, I'm using my embellishment wand to pick up those little gold pearls, and I'm going to place those in the center of those flowers. So earlier I said this card was monochromatic, and it still mostly is, but if you want to count gold as a color, you can. I'm just using a few gold embellishments to kind of dress it up, and that's going to be a theme that's going to tie all of these cards together. Sorry, my head and hair are getting in the way right there, but earlier, if you watched my video last week, you may have heard me say that I'm moving into a little bit of a birthday card kind of theme here because we all need birthday cards at different times. So on my channel, I'm going to be doing, for the next couple of videos, we're going to be doing some birthday cards, including these cards today. So I'm going to be using some hot foiled sentiments, birthday sentiments, that I'm going to combine with these dies and create these birthday cards. Now that I've finished putting all the pearls on, I just put an acrylic block on top of everything just to weigh it down a little bit while I cleaned up. So now it's time to assemble our final card here. And you can see how nicely this half moon bouquet fits onto our 4-petal shaped card base. So now that I've kind of dry fit everything, kind of see where I want it to be, I'm going to come in with that Barely Arts glue once again, and I'm going to dot that along our half moon bouquet and secure it to the card base. I'm just going to lay this last bouquet down. And I've put some foam tape on the back of this sentiment to pop it up a little bit and give it some dimension as well. And I'm going to place that on the card panel, well, actually the card base. Press it down and make sure everything's in place. And with that, this card is complete. Let's take a closer look at this card and all the detail that these dies create. We're going to take another look at all 3 cards at the end of this video, so make sure you stay tuned to see all 3 creations. Let's move on to the second card. For this card, we're going to move into using shades of a color to create this card. So I've decided to use purple, and so I'm going to use a darker purple, like kind of a mid-tone, and then a lavender purple as well. For this card, I'm only using 1 layer of the half moon bouquet, but I am going to assemble all the layers of the die cuts. So I'm going to speed this up a little bit so that we can get through this first die cut, which is the larger die cut. Then I'm going to slow it down to regular speed when I get to the smaller die cuts so you can see better how each one of those are layered together. So now we're moving into our smaller kind of fan-shaped die cut. Like the larger die cut, that it's just like it has 4 pieces as well. So you can see here that these are much smaller. And having that embellishment wand helped me be able to pick up the pieces and place them exactly where they needed to be. So I've got a little bit lighter purple piece coming on there. And now I'm going to use my embellishment wand to pick up that final little small white piece there. Pressing everything together, using the pointy end of the embellishment wand to kind of move it around a little bit. That's one of the advantages of using liquid glue, is that it does give you a little bit of time to work with your die cuts and move things around before you really start to get that secure adhesion. So that's done. Now we're going to move on to the others. So now I'm going to assemble this ginkgo shaped floral. And this one was a little bit trickier because it has a very thin piece that goes along the edge, top edge of the floral. So we got this little tiny piece at the bottom. And then this thin kind of edge or rim to our flower. It really does make a statement on the flower. But having that embellishment wand really helped me be able to get that into place easily. Just making sure everything is where I want it to be before the glue starts to really dry. And we're done. So I'm putting together this final die cut in all of its layers. And then we're going to move on to assembling our bouquet. Place everything under the acrylic block. Give it a little bit of weight. And now we're going to glue everything onto our half moon floral base here, floral bouquet. So I really liked how these different shades of purple really stepped this card up from the white card. I don't know which one is my favorite yet, because I do like each of them for what each of them brings and what each of them creates. But there's certain aspects I do like of one card better than the other. So I'm just going to place the white centers onto the small flowers, and then we're ready to move on to the next step. I did use that Four Petals labels die. This is like the second to the largest one. And I used that to create a panel for us that we're going to secure our half moon bouquets to. I cut that out of some lavender paper, and I ended up layering that lavender paper because it was a thinner cardstock. I layered it on top of a piece of white cardstock that I also die cut with that same label die. And that's going to have a little bit of dimension going on as well. So I'm pressing down that first little bouquet there and making sure that it's nice and secure. I love being able to see that lavender peek through the bouquet. And I think that really kind of gives this card a unique look. I'm not sure which of the three cards that is my favorite. I really like them all, and there are certain aspects about each one that I like more than the others. But I think they all turned out beautiful. For the sentiments, I used the More Sentiments hot foil set, which is also from Spellbinders. All of the products that I'm using today, I'll be sure to link them below the video in the description box, as well as on the coordinating blog post on my blog. This sentiment was made using the solid hot foil plate, and I'll be sure to link a video up top where I show you how I use my Glimmer hot foil machine. So now that our card panel is complete, it's now time to secure it to our card base. Again, this is a card base made with Accent Opaque 120-pound weight cardstock. And I'm just going to secure that directly to this A2 size card base. And now that everything is pressed in place, this card number 2, is complete. If you were to make this card, what colors would you use? Leave me a comment below and let me know what your favorite color would be to make this card with. I think it would be beautiful in some peaches, some yellows, even some greens. Now we're moving on to our third and final look for this video using these two die sets. As you can imagine, we're going to incorporate quite a bit more color into this design. So we've added just one color, yellow, but we're going to use it in several different places. So you can see the die cuts that are under the acrylic block. We've replaced a layer on the larger die cuts with yellow. So it was like a lavender layer. We replaced that with some yellow. And then we've added that little thin edge to the ginkgo flower or ginkgo leaf. We've added an edge of yellow to that. I'm sorry, I said earlier we only added one color. We actually added another color. We've changed our base to green. So now all of the leaves and the vines and everything that are on the half moon bouquet will now show up as green, which is going to give us a new and much more colorful look. So I'm using that Beverly Arts glue to glue all of our die cuts down. And then I'm going to come in with the smaller flowers. And for this bouquet, I'm going to use the yellow centers in the smaller flowers. While this is a small detail, it is another way to carry that color forward and extend the color on our creation. So I'm just finishing up these final little dots here, putting those in place, and that's going to complete this second bouquet. Place that under the acrylic block, and we're going to get ready for assembly. So I brought in that Four Petals labels die again, and this time I just cut it out of white cardstock. To switch it up a little bit, I decided to use a colored card base. I don't use colored card bases that often, and I really don't know why, but I do like the way this card comes together, so hopefully I'll start using those more in the future. So I'm going to place a shaped piece in the interior of the card, the inside of the card. So I've used some glue runner to place that on the inside of the card. And then I'm also going to have that same shaped piece using that 4-petal die set as my card panel on the front. We're going to secure our half moon bouquets to our card panel with some Beverly Arts glue. We're going to place those down on this panel, press them in place, so make sure everything is here. And then we're going to come in with our happy birthday hot foiled banner. That's going to be our sentiment. We're going to place that in the middle of our card. It has been popped up on some foam tape, and by placing that on this card, I'm going to bring my tape runner in again, my ATG gun, and place some tape runner on the back of my panel. And we're going to secure this to our colored card base. I really do like the way the colored card base enhances the colors that are on the panel. And remember, these die cuts are layered, sometimes 4 and 5 pieces thick. So there's lots of dimension that's on this card, and the colors really enhance and bring that dimension out. Let's take a closer look at this card. This is very, very pretty. I really like this die set from Spellbinders. It's just as beautiful when you use shades of one color and layer up all the pieces and get that dimension on that as well. And then who can forget this monochromatic stunner right here? This is just beautiful. I want to thank you all for joining me for another video on my YouTube channel. Be sure to check me out on Instagram and Facebook at The Delta Crafter, as well as on my blog, thedeltacrafter.com. Until next time, everyone, enjoy. Bye-bye.